I often say that I don't have a crystal ball and I can't predict everything with perfect accuracy, but our most recent call on Bitcoin played out to perfection. We talked about how we would likely hit the wick around 105.8K, and Bitcoin went ahead on this Sunday evening and did exactly that before getting rejected. In today's video, we'll be going over this, but we'll also be talking about what could be the next price action for Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market, and we'll also be talking about the key events that are upcoming this week. As always, if you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Let's jump right into the video. So let's get right into that call. As we can see over here, Bitcoin created a pretty big wick all the way up to around 105.8K. And as this price action played out over here over the past few days, I did talk about the high likelihood that we would be touching this wick before potentially getting rejected. Now, the rejection wasn't even that severe because right now I'm on the 1 hour time frame, and you can see that as soon as we passed just above this wick, we went ahead and got rejected, and right now we are back in this all-important support zone. And if you don't believe me, let's roll the clip. Now, currently, what I'm looking at here as we continue to consolidate in this zone, not breaking to the upside, but not breaking to the downside, is actually targeting the wick high around 105.5K. The reason being is because this would be the perfect storm to shake a lot of people out. So back to the chart, that's exactly what played out. But now let's look at the daily time frame to really see what's going on with Bitcoin. A huge wick to the upside. Now, if we keep on closing within the zone and it still holds as support, it is actually likely that we go ahead and trickle on a little bit higher because more people tried to short this market. And if we take a look at the liquidation heat map, just to give you a picture of what's going on, we went ahead and grabbed all of this liquidity over here. Several hundreds of millions of dollars of shorts were liquidated. And right now, we can see that some more is getting built up above 106K. And so if we go back to the Bitcoin chart, it wouldn't surprise me, pending we hold this level as support, that we would make another aggressive wick to liquidate all of those shorts. But if you've been watching the channel, my key thesis here is that I think Bitcoin at some point will be rolling over back into this key breakdown zone. And I saw some questions about this breakdown zone for some of you that are new to the channel. The reason why this zone is so important is because we consolidated for several days before Bitcoin made its low right around $74,500. So the fact that we consolidate here means that it's a strong support or resistance level. And that's why if we are to move higher from here, I do think that it's likely at some point before we set an aggressive all-time high, not just a wick, we would go ahead and target this range to hold it as support and then trickle on higher. Now, if we get the daily close above 106.2K, as I've been talking about on the channel, that changes everything because that is the most important level for us to hold as support. And again, if you're new to the channel, the reason being we've wicked above the level several times to set all-time highs for Bitcoin, but we've never had a daily close above that level. Confirmation on the daily above here, and we are really in the clear. Bitcoin is going much, much higher, and there's a chance that we won't even touch this previous breakdown region. Now, you're going to hate me for this. I have to talk about Bitcoin dominance again because it is the end of the week. This is a pretty massive green reversal candle. You can see we had a large wick to the bottom, and now this body is getting relatively bigger. So, as I've been saying, I still think that we're going to go ahead and target 66% dominance, and then if we hold that level as support, it's likely to go much higher. That's why I've continued to say for the spot portfolio, Bitcoin is the way to go. Most of your portfolio, if not all, should be in Bitcoin. Not financial advice, of course. And next up, we have ETH Bitcoin, which we've been monitoring very closely on the channel. Of course, with Bitcoin dominance continuing its uptrend, ETH Bitcoin did this week get rejected at the bull market support band. This is why I've been saying that we want to get those daily closes above these key moving averages. Otherwise, there is a chance that we come back down and retest these lows. That being said, they are very significant lows for ETH Bitcoin. And if we were to retest it, we would hope for a potential double bottom before this metric goes ahead and moves much higher. The reason I'm paying so much attention to this metric is because, as we know, when ETH Bitcoin starts to really outperform, that is when we can have a proper altcoin season, as we saw in this huge uptrend over here. In this instance, from the low around 0.16, we went all the way up to almost 0.09. Now, I don't know if ETH Bitcoin will actually go that high for this cycle, but I do think that it will get a pretty strong bounce after we get the confirmation above the bull market support band. For now though, if you want to dabble in the altcoin market, I would say that Ethereum is still the way to go. And the next thing I want to look at the end of this week is the total crypto market cap excluding Bitcoin. Pretty much the same picture here. We got a rejection at this key level right around $1.25 trillion. It's a pretty significant level that we got rejected at in the previous cycle as well. And it also wicked above and then we came back down. So if we can break above this level, the next obvious level would be towards the all-time highs around $1.6 trillion. This is the weekly chart, as I said, so we do need to get strong confirmation. Otherwise, this wick could see us move a lot lower, especially if Bitcoin does go ahead and corrects now. That being said, if we go back to the Bitcoin chart, we have to look at it objectively. If we can keep on closing in this key support zone, I would say that there's no cause for concern and Bitcoin can go ahead and move higher. And as we know, when Bitcoin moves up, it can still drag the rest of the altcoin market with it. But this retest that we've been talking about will only occur if we actually get daily closes below this key support zone. So make sure that you're paying attention to both scenarios, because if we actually rip higher here and we break above 106.2K, hold it as support, it's not just a wick as we've seen several times before, we would be going much, much higher, as I've been reiterating in all of my videos. The next thing that I wanted to take a look at is the overall Bitcoin exchange liquidation map. We can see that since we went ahead and liquidated those shorts, the levels are still very much in the longs. A lot of people are still longing Bitcoin from lower levels. And right here, we can see that there's $16.63 billion of cumulative long liquidation leverage, which would mean if we correct to $92,000, which I'll remind you is actually very close to this key breakdown region, all of those longs would be liquidated. And if we take a look at the short side of things, if we were to go all the way up to around $117,000, that would liquidate around $4.36 billion worth of shorts. So keep your eyes on that. The market is still heavily longing, and if we get a really nasty wick to the downside, it would likely wreck a lot of people. And the next thing to go over, the man, the myth, the legend, Michael Saylor put a tweet out a few hours ago, never short a man who buys orange ink by the barrel. What does this mean? Tomorrow he will be announcing another Bitcoin buy. Every Sunday he goes ahead and posts his chart of his Bitcoin accumulation levels, and this always signals that he goes ahead and announces his buy on the following day. So keep your eyes out on this. I will make sure to keep you updated in tomorrow's video. And just one kind of random piece of news that I wanted to throw in the video for all of you XRP fans, the XRP CME futures will start trading tomorrow, so keep your eyes out on that. And the last thing that I want to go over in this quick update is the key events of this week. The first thing, which is the most obvious, let's see how the markets react to Moody's reducing the US's credit rating. Let's look at what they had to say. The US has lost its last perfect credit rating as influential ratings firm Moody's expressed concern over the government's ability to pay back its debt. In lowering the US rating from AAA to AA1, Moody's noted that successive US administrations had failed to reverse ballooning deficits and interest costs. A AAA rating signifies a country's highest possible credit reliability, and it indicates it is considered to be in very good financial health with a strong capacity to repay its debts. Moody's warned in 2023 the US's AAA rating was at risk. Fitch Ratings downgraded the US in 2023, and the S&P Global Ratings did so in 2011. Moody's held a perfect credit rating for the US since 1917. So this is actually a pretty big deal, but let's see how the stock market reacts, because they actually announced this downgrade in credit rating right as the market closed, so we weren't able to see the immediate impacts. The next events this week, US crude oil inventory data on Wednesday, the S&P Global Manufacturing PMI data on Thursday. Also on Thursday, April existing home sales data. That's going to be pretty interesting. And then we have April new home sales data on Friday, a total of 14 Fed speaker events this week. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because I will keep you updated on all of these huge events that could be impacting the markets. And that sums up today's quick video. Bitcoin went ahead and hit that wick that we talked about a few days ago. Now the question is, can we hold this key level as support, or is this the new wick that sets us to go back down and retest that breakdown region before we go ahead and put in an all-time high? If you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.